What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 299 of Littleroot Lessons. As you can see, it is just Carl by himself tonight. We are recording this one day later than we normally would because we had a lot of stuff going on Sunday night and just couldn't get the episode recorded. And then I was going to record it super early this morning. Didn't have the energy to do that, so we're recording it now. LAIC's topic of the week. We're going to go over as many teams as I can fit in and give a good, conclusion. I think there's technically one more Reg H event before the end of the season. Yeah, there is one more Regulation H event. Stuttgart's going to be the last weekend of November. So I guess technically we're not done with Reg H yet. But most of us have checked out by now. We recently had Las Vegas, and that was the last NA event. LAIC is the last big event. I would say Stuttgart will probably have a decent showing, but I imagine overall the number of participants will be low. Starting off with the top 12, top 10, however you want to look at this Pokemon from LAIC, we see the standard 6 to 12 Pokemon that we are normally seeing. Incineroar at 54, Goldengo at 42, Rillaboom 41, Ursaluna 36%, Dragonite, Sneasler, Annihilate, Volcarona, Basculegion, etc. Archaludon, regular Ursaluna, Alolan Ninetales, all on this list here. Nothing too terribly surprising and standing out in day 1. Day 2, the numbers change a little bit. Goldengo and Rillaboom kind of dip. Bloodmoon Ursaluna takes upwards, goes from 4th to 3rd there with an 8% jump. Incineroar hits almost 60%, which again, not surprising. The rest of the Pokemon, Dragonite's still top 5, Sneasler's top 6, Volcarona's still top 8, Archaludon makes a decent jump, Basculegion makes a slight jump, Annihilate falls backwards, Alolan Ninetales falls backwards, and the real big change, which is interesting because we saw regular Ursaluna do so well in Las Vegas and Bloodmoon do poorly, regular Ursaluna has fallen out of the top 12 for day 2 of LAIC, and now we have the pelipper, which is another interesting thing because rain didn't do too hot in Las Vegas. It's back up the map in the LAIC, so this might have been the people who were playing in Vegas just made a good meta call, and that's just how it works out. And then the format quickly adjusted to that. There's a lot of things going on in the background of Reg H. It's changing very quickly still, even though it's a mostly figured out format. Going to our teams, we see here in the hands of our first place player, Yuma Kunagawa, a very interesting take on Typhlosion Sun, I guess is the best way to call it. This is a very Japanese inspired team. They're playing that Babiri Berry Whimsicott that we talked about in Vegas. Specs Typhlosion, Incineroar for Rigoraph, Ursaluna Bloodmoon. Notably, this Ursaluna is the Life Orb Terra Normal I'm going to just hit you hard set. We've kind of started to see people gravitate back towards like the Assault Vest away from Leftovers, which is kind of interesting, but this one is just a really hard hitting, looking to deal as much damage as possible type of set. And then to round out this kind of strong Sunroom-ish core, we have a Flamigo. Flamigo checks a lot of boxes that this team normally would have a problem dealing with. Being able to be immune to Intimidate, having close combat for all the other pesky dark types, or the answers into opposing Bloodmoon, because Bloodmoon versus Bloodmoon matches can be hard. Other notable things, it's got Feint and access to Wide Guard. Wide Guard helps protect your Ursaluna from Goldengos, like Make It Rain and things like that. Feint lets you get in around, like, protect to stall out a Bloodmoon. There's a lot of cool little techs that Flamigo offers this team in particular. I still think this Berry isn't great. We did see it in finals. The Berry matters into Life Orb Golden Go, but if you were to just click, you were going to probably move ahead of it if you just click Tailwind and Eruption or Flare Blitz or whatever. So I really don't see the reason for Berry Whimsicott, really. I just don't see it. I'm not a fan. I just think if they get +1, you're dead. Like, it's just not worth it. But the rest of this is kind of interesting. We talked about it last week on the Vegas show. Nightshade Farigiraf is good, consistent damage in a format where everything is 50 HP. It's going to be 50 damage no matter what, as long as you can hit it. That's super duper nice. I kind of like this tech on the Farigirafs. But yeah, it's a very interesting take on Sun. It's Sun, but without the hard commit to Sun. You can still do like Tailwind Eruption things, Tailwind Shadow Ball things with Typhlosion, so you're not locked into just being a all Sun all the time mode. Next up, we have second place Juan Solarano, playing a more traditional balancy style Doug with Sneasler, Rillaboom, Incineroar. We've seen versions of this team a lot. One of the big differences, what we usually see on these leftovers, Yawn, Ursalunas, is electric. We've swapped to water here. I think water is fine as the format has kind of adapted. I still personally really like the electric just because you're not you removed that grass weakness as well. And so Rillaboom's not as big of a threat. Like Woodhammer still really hits you hard with or without Terra on you. And so you're really reliant on making sure you take care of opposing Rillabooms, Intimidate, Acrobatics, whatever. One of the other big gripes I have are these only Scale Shot Dragonites. It is starting to become more and more common to see things like the Whimsicott or the Terra Fairy Volcarona. Dragonite can't hit those things. It can click Haze next to it, whatever, and you could maybe try and break through the Volcarona that way. But Scale Shot by itself is becoming less and less optimal because you get into these situations of, oh, I just leave the Dragonite up and I take care of everything else next to it. It can't hit my fairy type or my Terra Fairy or whatever is sitting across from it. So that's just something I'm kind of iffy on now, is just maybe playing, instead of Protect, maybe playing Extreme Speed or something. I don't know. The rest of this is pretty standard stuff. Terra Flying Swords Dance Sneasler. This is very much looks like what we saw at the start of Reg H. This Sneasler, like Golden Go, Ursaluna stuff, and with like Alolan Ninetales and things like that. Moving down into top 4 and beyond. This is the pretty standard rain stuff. Notably, we have 2 Trick Room setters. This Farigiraf being here is a decent change. I like this. I'm not sure what Terra Poison does for us in this format. I guess you resist close combat and can switch it on close combat, but close combat's neutral at that point, so like that's not great. Dazzling Gleam is nice tech though for extra damage. And notable thing, excuse me, they picked up the Life Orb Terra Normal Ursaluna, doing real big damage. I have a feeling this was probably something they saw off of, because this is another Japanese player. I'm sure it's something that's just like a Japanese trend. They like this set a lot. This is something they like to do. But the rest of this, outside of the Farigiraf, feels very much like the old what we're used to seeing for Standard Rain with the Archaludon, the Pelipper, the Sinistra, the Incineroar. Very similar themes there, just swapping the Ursaluna for a more offensive typing of Ursaluna and then a Farigiraf to kind of help with the issues with Fake Out is the best way to describe it. You have a very big weakness to opposing Priority and Fake Out. on rain. That's just kind of inherently how you can lose that matchup a lot. So that Vergarath there definitely helps shore that matchup some. Another top 4 tail time. I believe this is the team that they've been playing the entire regulation. For the most part, this is pretty much what it looks like. The kind of the Frankfurt style of like Ninetales, Rillaboom, Incineroar, Terra Electric, Ursaluna Bloodmoon, and then we have our setup mon of Volcarona with Quiver Dance, Terra Fairy. Works really, really well with the Grassy Seed. Very, very powerful. Gives you multiple options for Fire, Water, Grass. You're not locked into bringing Incineroar to be your Fire type every time. Also allows Incineroar to carry more, I guess is the best way, is like cover, like weird status moves, things like Taunt, Knock Off, things like that. So you're not locked into having to have Flare Blitz on it. Basket Legion's really, really strong. Still really like this Pokemon. Wave Crash, Aqua Jet, Flip Turn, Last Respects, Scarf Adaptability. Plays well in rain, or in this case, in the snow with our Ninetales. Being that adaptability, Terra Water means you still will pick up those KOs with your Wave Crash when needed. Yeah, I like the Encore Disable on the Ninetales. I like this a lot, especially with a Sash. Blizzard's probably the only move your Ninetales really absolutely has to have, so the rest of the moves you can kind of do whatever your team needs to. Icy Wind, we've seen Moonblast on Life Orb sets. We've seen one or both of Encore Disable. We've seen them drop Protect for extra coverage. The world's your oyster there for Ninetales. I really think Alolan Ninetales has become a very strong mon in this regulation, and it'll be interesting to see if it carries, if any of that kind of bleeds over into Regulation F. Another well-known European player coming over here to LAIC, Oliver Escalon. We've talked about his team last week. This is a very, very unique take on Sunroom. Venusaur, Dusclops, Dragonite, Incineroar, Torkoal, and Annihilate. Some cool things about this one is we have Life Orb, Chlorophyll, Terrifier, Venusaur. So we actually get like Stab, Weather Ball. We have the Sun Up. We have access to a fast sleep powder if we need to. Torkoal, notably, is not the Specs variant, has access to things like Helping Hand to increase damage from Annihilate or Dragonite or Incineroar or even Venusaur, just letting it do other things that aren't stuck under Trick Room a lot of the time. This is a Rage Fist coaching close combat Annihilate with Sash. I'm not the biggest fan of the Sash variants for Annihilate, but it's fine. Having access to Taunt on it, also fine. Assault Vest Incineroar, really strong. 3 attack Terra Fairy Dragonite's also really, really good. I like it a lot. I like this new. You could honestly drop Ice Spinner for Haze or Tailwind, or drop Protect and have that status move if you really need it for speed control or whatever. But I feel like you're fine without it, especially when you have access to Trick Room on the Dusclops here. We talked about it the last time. Frisk, really, really cool because people like to bring Hisuian Zoroark to the game now. So having that Frisk to kind of tell you what Pokemon's what based on their items is really, really good. Technically has recovery with Pain Split. You can steal HP from your opponent and then give it to your partner. Kind of cool things like that. Not super common, but like cool tech for like maybe like Annihilate or Dragonite. Next up, Justin Tang. I'm pretty sure this is the same team that they were playing at Las Vegas, or pretty close to it. Notably, this is a very bulky, very long, like we are going to set up screens, damage reduction between Archaludon and Volcarona, and there were screens from Grimmsnarl. It's really, really cool to see Grimmsnarl back into this format. I really like this Pokemon a lot. I thought maybe it probably wasn't great in Regulation H just because the damage is already lower, so your games go longer, so screens aren't as important maybe. But here it is, top 8, doing really, really well. Notable, this is a Terra Steel Specs Golden Go with Trick and Power Gem instead of Nasty Plot and Protect. I kind of like the Power Gem ones, especially with all of the fire types running around, like the Terra Fire Rillabooms and Incineroars and Volcaronas and the inherent flying types that are everywhere. Like that Terra Flying Sneasler is really, really popular. Well, Power Gem is actually really good into that. That said, most of the time, a Shadow Ball is probably going to take it out too, but you have something to hit it for super effective damage in Power Gem if you're locked into that. And also picked up the Life Orb Terra Normal Bloodmoon. I believe, don't quote me on this, I have to open up Lab Mouse to check it. I believe most of them had swapped over to Life Orb for this event. And now I'd have to go look just to make sure I'm not crazy. Yeah, barely, but about 11 difference between the most popular Assault Vest and then Life Orb. What's funny is it goes Life Orb at 66, Assault Vest 55, Leftovers 55 for Bloodmoon Ursaluna, which is really, really cool. Just kind of neat little things like that. Next up is another Sun team. This one feels very Joe UX9-ish. With the Jump Bluff, the Garchomp, the Typhlosion, the King Gambit. This feels very much just like a Joe UX9 version of Sun that someone has picked up and started playing with. Notably, they dropped the Tailwind for Extreme Speed because they on their Dragonite because they have Tailwind on their Jump Bluff. I like this change a lot. Their Torkoal is Terra Flying Eject Pack with Burning Jealousy and Helping Hand. I think that's some pretty neat tech. Garchomp's really, really good. Does a lot of damage. I'm not sure if it's great in this format much anymore. The format has kind of evolved to where it's threatened a lot more than it should be, thanks to like Alolan Ninetales, and the incidental fairy coverage kind of coming into the format. So it's cool to see Garchomp back in the fray. And then we have an Assault Vest Terra Water King Gambit. Terra Water is not very common on King Gambit, I feel like. You usually are fire or maybe a fighting resist and like poison or ghost. I'm just glad it's not Terra Dark. Definitely don't want to be Terra Dark in this format. But Low Kick, Sucker Punch, Iron Head Assurance, looking to just deal damage. Notably, does not have Kowtow Cleave for strong dark damage, so you're kind of reliant on Sucker Punch and just being slower than everything and doing like Extreme Speed Assurance or Dragon Claw Assurance and just getting the double up damage that way. Rounding out our top 8 is the team of Gabriel Agati. This team was very, very cool. Notably, this is a kind of trapping Parashong style of team, still playing the good balanced core around Basculegion, Volcarona, Rillaboom, and Incineroar. It's a very, very strong core. You can play that game mode, and you probably will win a lot of games just based off of that. But then to help fix some of the matchup problems, you got the Alolan Ninetales with Protect, Blizzard, Encore, Disable, Terror Ghost, Focus Sash. We've seen that before. And then we have this Parashong, Whirlpool, Chillonberry, Politoed. For those that don't know, Chillonberry lets you have damage reduce damage from a normal type attack coming into you, which means Blood Moon doesn't KO you, which means you get that Whirlpool off into the Blood Moon, and then they're trapped. And then you get to click Parasong, and then they go down in 3 turns, etc. This is really cool tech for a Pokemon that's not really commonly seen. I am a Politoed fan. I like Politoed a lot. I think Politoed is still better than Pelipper, just because of the move flexibility Politoed used to have. It doesn't have that as much in Scarlet and Violet anymore, but this is still a really cool set between access to both water and ice coverage in Weather Ball, Whirlpool Burst. So William Brown, this again looks very much like the Archaludon, Pelipper Rain teams that we're used to seeing. Notably, we have kind of audibled away from the Sinistcha Trick Room to the Farigiraf Trick Room, which again, like I mentioned earlier, helps with the issue of Rain having an issue against opposing Fake Out. Things like Rillaboom's a problem. Incineroar like the Rillaboom Incineroar flipping around can be an issue for fake out unless you have like Basket Legion on the field, which then Basket Legion doesn't like Grassy Glide, so then Ferrograph helps against that. There's a lot of cool moving pieces with this team. I like this kind of idea of I have Rain plus Trick Room plus really fast Basket Legion with Swift Swim Choice Band. And then I also can just go loaded dice, scale shot, Dragonite you, and clean the game up because you can't beat my Dragonite. Lot to like about this 6. Again, it just feels very very regulation H coded of I have Rain. I'm going to do my Rain thing. Oh, there's a Dragonite. Like it's just a bunch of powerful Pokemon put together. We have Dozogiri up next in the hands of Kylan Van Sferen. Covert Cloak, Terra Steel, Dondozo. This screams almost solo Dozo-ish with the Terra Steel and the Covert Cloak and like the Heavy Slam. But we do have the Tatsugiri next to it. Notable, I'm not sure what Terra Normal does for Tatsugiri. I guess it's just like reduces weaknesses to just fighting. So that's kind of cool, maybe. I feel like you could do something a little bit maybe better with that, but you're probably not terraing your Tatsugiri that often. The rest of this team is built around making sure your Dondozo gets to do its thing. Final Gambit. I did not know Annihilape got Stealth Rock. That's your new tidbit for the day. That is actually kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm guessing this is a max HP, max speed, Final Gambit, Stealth Rock, Close Combat, Safety Goggles, Annihilape. That's kind of cool. Citrus Berry, Volcarona, Terra Water, Struggle Bug, Tailwind, Will-O-Wisp, Heat Wave, looking to do damage reduction, get some of the physical damage dealers kind of beat up before your Dondozo comes in. Power Herb, Archaludon, looking to just pick up a KO or maybe 2 before it goes down. And then obviously these loaded dice scale shot Dragonite that we're used to seeing with extreme speed. This is probably the exact way I would play my Dragonites if I was playing this game still constantly. I've officially checked out of Reg H. Reg F is where it's at. But yeah, really like Dondozo in this format. It's nice to see it still doing well at the top tables. And then the last one is something we saw a lot in Vegas. The P2 Ursaluna Golden Go Kilowatt Roll kind of Trick Room team. Amoonguss, Incineroar kind of round out your options for like interaction and speed control between Kilowattrel and Porygon 2. And then Golden Go and Ursaluna are both just really big damage dealing threats that can increase their damage or really just pick up fast KOs as best you can next to Kilowattrel. We talked a lot about this from the Vegas team. It's cool. I believe this is probably the highest placing Ursaluna in the entire event. Yeah, it is. I don't think there is... How many Ursaluna? What's the next highest Ursaluna? I don't think there was very many in day 2. There's Bloodmoon. I just saw it. Where'd it go? There it is. There is a top 32 one, which is the pretty much standard rain. This is standard rain for the most part. Rain room. Kind of cool. But yeah, regular Ursaluna just did not have a very good day, which is kind of sad. After having a very good showing in Vegas, just didn't pull off the continuance of what we expected it to be. Heck, I could talk about the next team. Christian Regel's Corbinite Sand 222 team. Normally we would see maybe an Excadrill in one of these spots where the Garchomp or the Archaludon would be, because that one gets Sand Rush, gives you good speed control. Instead, we're really relying on Corviknight's Tailwind and Sneasler just having Unburden active for our speed control. That's fine. I mentioned Garchomp. Garchomp's cool in this format. It's probably a little tough to run with all the incidental like ice and whatnot running around. But again, still probably fine. What else do we have? We have the Frankfurt team after that. Nicholas Kahn's Doug Mouse Ape team. Pretty standard. Pretty standard for Reg F or Reg H. Marco Silva's Rabombi Como team that we saw earlier this month. Really cool team using Fake Tears Rabombi and Como and Golden Go and Blood Moon. Fake Tears means that all your team deals extra damage, and the one Pokemon that doesn't care is Dragonite, who doesn't need the extra help. And then Covert Cloak Incineroar means that you can win the fake out wars and can't really be interacted with. You don't take stat drops, etc. Last in the top 16 is Giovanni Tisque. Yeah, this looks very much like the Tang team we saw earlier, right? Volcarona, Archaludon, Ursaluna Bloodmoon, Grimmsnarl, Dragonite, Golden Go, yeah. Yeah, I think this is pretty much carbon copy the same as Justin Tang's team, which would make sense. I believe they probably built together a little bit. Would make sense. Yeah, like this team, I like the idea of that team a lot. What other cool things do we have down here? Cho Jung Peng's got the Tang team. Matteo Ferrari's got. I think that's pretty much the same. Almost the same as Christian's team. Christian is playing that Archaludon and Garchomp, whereas Matteo Ferrari's got Bloodmoon Ursaluna and Volcarona. Francesco Piopero has the first top 32, right? Rain Ursaluna room. We talked about this team a little bit last week. A more hardcore Lily Cole style Sun. This has been probably the most well performing version of Sun, like across the board, rather than being like the niche Whimsicott Sun or the Venu Cole version that Oliver is running. Yeah, Hisui Typhlosion, Torkoal, Lilligant, Annihilate, Farigiraf, Incineroar, pretty much all the standard stuff we've seen before. I believe, yeah. So this is cool. This is a similar version of the first place team, kind of having a similar theme, but with some different choices and different items. We have things like Focus Sash Whimsicott instead of the Berry. But a lot of the similar themes here. Notable is this Throat Spray for Farigiraf with Hyper Voice instead of the Nightshade. I think it's probably just more play style than it seems to be on paper, but I personally just like the idea of Nightshade for Farigiraf. Outside of all that, there's an Hisuian Arcanine. We could talk about that. What is this? Oh, it's the Mirror Herb stuff. Okay, so the idea is you lead this on the Defiant Mon and you can blow them up because they can't, you outspeed them. Yeah, really cool idea. Our Hisui Arcanine, Maushold, Kilowattrel, Golden Go, Ursaluna, Bloodmoon, Rillaboom. Kind of the similar themes that we've seen in Regulation H in the past, with some unique takes on Mons in this Mirror Herb Hisuian Arcanine. Still have this is a Specs No Trick Golden Go, so we are just all in on Thunderbolt. Okay. And this is a Friendguard Super Fang Maushold. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Anything crazy sticking out at me? I don't really see anything. Oh, no, I lied. Found a Galarian Weezing with neutralizing gas and an ability shield prankster Sableye. As you would expect, the other partners are Dondozo Tatsugiri and then Annihilate Dragapult. I'm sad this Dragapult did not get to pick up more in Reg H 2.0. This was something that I thought was very, very powerful in the first time we were in Reg H, having access to that very fast choice band Dragon Darts, Outrage, and Phantom Force meant that it was really hard for your opponents to kind of predict how you were going to act and how you were going to play. So I'm sad that this didn't get to pick up as more, but I feel like the format is probably better for it. Nothing else is sticking out hard to me. There's a Primarina. We've talked about Primarina a ton the last couple weeks. There's a Charizard in top 128. Yeah, now we're getting into the only the day one teams. So yeah, I feel like this was. Oh, I just passed a Excalibur. Oh, that's just the normal standard stuff. Okay, never mind. We'll look at it. This is playing Excalibur as a Dragonite clone with Arcanine acting as a more offensive Incineroar because your damage is not as high with Excalibur as it would be with like Dragonite. No setup on your King Gambit, no setup on your Sneasler means you're really reliant on having damage across the board. So Incineroar kind of loses out on that pressure. So yeah. Cool thing is this Terraflying Terrablast King Gambit. You resist the fighting and you get to hit Sneasler with a super effective move. That's kind of cool. But yeah, that was all the teams I really want to talk about from LAIC. Overall, the event was fun. I personally missed a lot of day one because by the time I wake up, they were already in like round 4 or 5, and then I usually on Fridays I go straight to work, so I missed all of day one, and then I got to see parts and bits of day 2. I did go back and watch the finals. It was very one-sided in my opinion. I feel like Yuma was in Juan's head the entire time. It did not look close. It might have been close on paper if played optimally on the hands of both sides, but I feel like Yuma made very good and very almost obvious reads into Juan in game 1, and then was just in Juan's head for all of game 2, and really just had Juan on the back foot the entire series. I feel like I want to talk about this team because this team just feels very weird on paper, but that's just how all Japanese teams are. This Flamigo pulls its weight. The Whimsicott pulls its weight. We didn't even get to see the Typhlosion do Typhlosion things in finals. It was just the Ursaluna Bloodmoon show. Like, Life Orb Bloodmoon is picking up KOs left and right. So it's cool to think about how we talked about, AV Incineroar is going to live most hits from Blood Moon. That's why you play the AV Incineroar. Well, now that Blood Moon has the Life Orb, your AV Incineroar is probably not living as many hits as it should. And so it's just kind of cool to see the format flex and bend and change, even just week to week. We do have Stuttgart coming up. I don't know if we're going to cover that event, but it being the last weekend in November before Regulation F takes over. We'll probably focus on Regulation F next week because, yeah, Stuttgart is this weekend. So, yeah, next episode you probably see will be our Regulation F tier list, I would imagine. But all that said and done, this was a fun episode. It's only 40 minutes, 30 minutes long. That's fine. Being by myself, there's not really much commentary past that. But yeah. thank you all for watching and enjoying this very short and rough cover of LAIC. Next episode will be episode 300. Roe mentioned something about wanting to do something cool. I don't know if we're going to do that or not. There's a lot of strings to pull. It is Thanksgiving weekend, so they might be busy. They might not be. We'll find out. But make sure to do all the fun YouTube and interaction stuff we need. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Make sure to check us out wherever you get your podcasts at, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Be on the lookout. Maybe Carter might have a TCG video for this week. We'll hopefully see maybe some of the new stuff from Phantasmal Flames. It's kind of been rough because the current TCG format isn't playing Phantasmal Flames yet. So maybe this week he'll have a new deck to play. But yeah, outside of that, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.